YNR spoilers revealed in a city rife with secrets and intrigue. No one in the Abbott family is safe from threats from the past and present. The relationship between Billy Abbott and Phyllis Summers has always been a controversial topic, and this time, it has once again become the center of attention when Phyllis suddenly goes missing. Although Billy is trying to focus on his career and family, he can't help but feel worried when his brother Jack Abbott discovers something unusual about Phyllis. Phyllis's bound scenes and truths. Billy Abbott has always considered Phyllis a strong woman who can handle things on her own, but this time, her disappearance has put him in a difficult position. Jack, who has been keeping tabs on the family's activities and strange happenings in the area, has recently discovered that Phyllis may be caught up in some greater danger than she thought. One evening at Billy's house, while he and Sally Spectra, Jack Abbott, and Diane Jenkins were enjoying drinks, the conversation inadvertently led to concerns about Phyllis. An initial conversation about Sally's interior design choices led Billy, in a moment of relaxation, to mention seeing construction crews working on the Abbott mansion. This immediately caught Jack's attention, who was very concerned about the changes taking place at his house. Jack had never been one to overlook small details, and the discovery of construction crews working on the Abbott mansion made him nervous. Jack had always been proud of his house. It was an image of stability and the Abbott family, but the excessive renovations that Billy mentioned made him suspect that something was wrong. Although Diane tried to downplay the changes, saying they were just minor improvements, Jack's worried gaze couldn't hide his unease. Billy and Jack's relationship. Confessions. After a tense conversation, Billy couldn't help but toast Jack for his career success and express his gratitude for the funding Jack had provided for the company. Although tension still hung in the air, Billy didn't forget to give heartfelt words to his brother, who had always been a role model and source of encouragement in his life. "I'm really grateful to you, Jack. You've always been a role model to me, and I'm proud of what you've done for the Abbott family," Billy shared in a respectful tone. Jack looked at Billy with pride in his eyes and replied, "I'm proud of you too, Billy. I know you can do great things. Even though you've stumbled at times, I've always believed in you." But the story didn't end there. While the Abbott family meeting was warm, Diane was the only one in the room who couldn't quite relax. She was worried that Phyllis's involvement in Abbott communications might be a bad idea. Diane, though not directly mentioning Phyllis by name, couldn't hide her concerns about the potential danger Phyllis posed to the Abbott family. "I don't think this is a good decision, Jack," Diane said softly, looking at the glass of wine in her hand. Billy, while not entirely agreeing, still felt the need to protect Phyllis, especially since he didn't know what she was doing, but he was sure she wouldn't get into the serious trouble that everyone suspected. "You can't contact Phyllis right now, she's making some unexpected deals." "I don't know what exactly, but I trust she'll handle it." However, Billy's worries continue to haunt him, especially after he hears about Phyllis's connections to Damien Kane, a man who harbors dangerous secrets. Damien, a character who can appear at any time, is a constant source of tension in the Abbott family, and Billy can't help but suspect that Phyllis is involved in some kind of power struggle. Past hurts and the race of tricks. While Phyllis and Billy's relationship may be complicated and full of ups and downs, there's no denying that Phyllis's presence always brings chaos to the Abbott household. Billy's concern that Phyllis might get into trouble is not only personal, but also affects the Abbott family's career and reputation. Jack may not yet realize the extent of the danger Phyllis may be in, but Billy has a clear sense that something is not right. The renovations to the Abbott mansion, Phyllis's sudden disappearance, and the hints about Damien are all signs that cannot be ignored. Unanswered questions seem to haunt the Abbott family. Is Phyllis really caught up in a conspiracy much larger than herself? And can Billy resolve his suspicions before the truth is revealed? Billy's concerns and Diane and Jack's showdown, a complicated situation on the young and the restless in the Abbott family. Every decision can have a profound impact on not only the reputation but also the relationships between the members. The relationship between Billy Abbott and Phyllis Summers has always been a challenging combination, especially since both have their own secrets and motives. However, things get even more tense when unexpected situations arise and the Abbott family is faced with difficult decisions. Diane and Jack, The Phyllis Showdown and Billy's Choice. Diane Jenkins, who has always had a sharp eye and is not afraid to express her opinions, cannot help but worry about Phyllis's involvement in Billy's project. Diane has always maintained that Phyllis is a troublemaker, and that her involvement in Abbott communications could damage the Abbott family's reputation. Diane does not want Jack's investment to be at risk because of a volatile relationship with Phyllis. When Jack and Diane arrive at the sports club, the argument between the two continues. Diane continues to convince Jack that Phyllis will not bring anything good to the Abbott family and that letting her get involved in Billy's business is a serious mistake. Diane acts as if she is sure that Billy will fail if Phyllis gets involved in his project. However, Jack, despite Diane's concerns, still has faith in his brother. He knows Billy well and always knows that although Billy may sometimes get his own way, he always has his reasons and is capable of taking control of the situation. Jack decides to trust Billy's choices, but also reminds him to be careful when it comes to Phyllis. Billy is my brother. I believe in his abilities. But I also want you to keep your eyes open and be careful. Phyllis can be a dangerous element, Jack said, his voice low and somewhat worried. Diane looked at Jack, not quite agreeing, but she knew that this was an issue they couldn't easily resolve in a conversation. You'll see, Diane said, unable to hide her concern. Billy and Phyllis, a challenging relationship. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott couldn't stop thinking about what was going on between him and Phyllis. As much as he wanted to trust her, part of him felt that something was wrong. Phyllis had always been a troublemaker, and she wasn't always predictable. Lately, she had been making Billy nervous with her antics and unexpected actions. One day, while sitting with Sally Spectra, Billy admitted to her that he was considering cutting ties with Phyllis because of her recent shady dealings. She always has a way of making things complicated. You know, I can't keep letting her mess things up, Billy told Sally, confused and having trouble deciding. Sally, while clearly understanding that Billy had reason to be concerned, also sensed that a part of him still couldn't quite shake off his relationship with Phyllis. While she understood that Phyllis could be a source of trouble, Billy couldn't deny her presence in his life. Are you really worried about Phyllis? Sally asked, looking at Billy intently, sensing the tension in his voice. Billy nodded, looking into his drink. Maybe she's really in trouble. And if she's involved in something dangerous, I can't just sit by and do nothing. Sally sensed Billy's genuine concern, not just about his relationship with Phyllis, but about the risks she might bring to his life. Sally didn't hesitate to offer advice, knowing that Billy would always have his own view of Phyllis. She might get you into bigger trouble. But if you feel like something's not right, you should act now. Unusual signs and feelings of worry. While Billy's life was revolving around making difficult decisions with Phyllis, he began to notice unusual signs from her sudden departure. Not only had Phyllis mysteriously disappeared, but her actions and changes in plans made Billy feel that something was going on that he couldn't quite understand. Unanswered questions began to form in Billy's mind, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being left in a dangerous situation. Billy began to reconsider what he knew about Phyllis. Could she be hiding something bigger than he had thought? And if there was real danger, what could Billy do to protect her and keep his career and reputation intact? Sally senses Billy's genuine concern, not just about his relationship with Phyllis, but also about the risks she may bring to his life. Sally doesn't hesitate to offer advice, even though she knows that Billy will always have his own views on Phyllis. She might be the one to get you into bigger trouble. But if you feel like something's not right, you should act now. Unusual signs and feelings of worry. While Billy's life revolves around making tough decisions with Phyllis, he begins to notice unusual signs from her sudden departure. Not only has Phyllis mysteriously disappeared, but her actions and changes in plans make Billy feel that something is going on that he doesn't fully understand. Unanswered questions begin to pop up in Billy's mind, and he can't shake the feeling that he's been left in a dangerous situation. Billy begins to reconsider what he knows about Phyllis. She may be hiding something bigger than he realizes. And if there is real danger, what can Billy do to protect her and keep his career and reputation intact? Sally, though not an insider, cannot help but notice Billy's genuine concern. She is not only his work partner, but also someone with whom Billy can share his thoughts and feelings. However, Sally also knows that Billy needs to be alert and have a clear plan when facing Phyllis, who may not only cause trouble but also bring greater dangers. The story between Billy, Phyllis, and the Abbott family is becoming more and more complicated. While Jack and Diane argue about Phyllis's involvement in Abbott communications, Billy is faced with doubts and insecurities when it comes to her. Billy and Phyllis's relationship remains a major issue, and as unpredictable events unfold, Billy will have to decide whether he can continue to trust Phyllis. Will he cut ties with Phyllis to protect himself and the Abbott family, or will he continue to accompany her on this dangerous journey? The answer is still waiting ahead, and only time will reveal the secrets that Phyllis is hiding. In a city like Genoa City, where everything can change in the blink of an eye, no one can predict the complicated relationships or dark secrets that are gradually revealed. Especially in the Abbott family, relationships are often put to the test. The relationship between Billy Abbott and Diane Jenkins has never been easy, and a tense confrontation between them begins, especially when suspicions about the disappearance of Phyllis Summers gradually arise. Billy's inquiries and feelings of unease. Billy Abbott, although a pleasant and sometimes straightforward person, becomes sharper and more subtle than ever when faced with issues related to family and career. This time, his insecurity and vague signs about Diane prompted him to conduct an undercover investigation to check whether she was really involved in Phyllis's disappearance. From passing questions to more in-depth questions, Billy did not miss any small details. He knew that Diane was not an easy person to detect, but the change in her way of speaking and attitude made him unable to ignore it. From casual conversations, Billy noticed that Diane was always too careful, not revealing too much about what she knew about Phyllis or recent events. Although Diane tried to keep her cool and keep things light, Billy began to sense that something was wrong. His unease grew, and he was determined to find out the truth, whatever was hiding behind Diane's perfect facade. During a recent meeting, Billy deliberately pushed the conversation further, asking seemingly innocuous questions that were tinged with deep suspicion. "Do you know anything about Phyllis? I've noticed she's not her usual self lately," Billy asked, his eyes never leaving Diane, as if searching for a sign of something strange in her reaction. Diane didn't hesitate to answer, but Billy could sense the defensiveness in her words. "Phyllis has always been like that. She always makes things complicated," Diane replied, her tone somewhat cold but also filled with undisguised concern. The first clues: is Diane involved in Phyllis's kidnapping? Phyllis's sudden disappearance has raised a lot of suspicion in the community. While Phyllis may have created trouble herself, this case seems to have gotten out of hand. Billy, unable to shake the feeling that something is amiss, begins to notice unusual signs. And one of the first people he suspects is Diane Jenkins. Diane has always been a well-connected person in Genoa City's underworld, with complex connections and dark plots that have never really been revealed. She is not only a shrewd woman, but also someone who is capable of hiding big secrets. When Phyllis goes missing, Diane becomes one of the people Billy feels the need to thoroughly investigate. There are a few details that make Billy suspicious. First, there was a sudden change in Diane's behavior. She became quieter, and seemed to avoid any questions about Phyllis. Second, in casual conversations, Billy noticed that Diane did not appear worried or confused when Phyllis was not around, but instead remained calm, which only made Billy more suspicious. Another clue that Billy could not ignore was Diane's absence from several important events recently. While everyone was worried about Phyllis's disappearance, Diane seemed to be going about her life without any stress or confusion. This made Billy unable to help but think that she knew more than she was letting on. With all these doubts haunting him, Billy decided that he could not sit still and wait for the truth to gradually unfold. He begins to dig deeper, using every connection and resource at his disposal to find clues about Phyllis's disappearance. He secretly tracks Diane's movements, and this leads him to a horrifying discovery. One of Diane's recent encounters with a mysterious figure, whom Billy does not know, leads him to the realization that Diane may be involved in Phyllis's kidnapping. Not only that, Billy discovers that Diane may be protecting a larger conspiracy, one that involves not only Phyllis, but could affect the Abbott family as well. New details begin to emerge, and Billy slowly begins to get a bigger picture of what is really going on. Diane, despite her best efforts to hide, can no longer keep her secret. Underworld connections, influential people, and a seemingly long-planned plan begin to emerge. Billy is determined to uncover the truth, and to do so, he will have to confront people he never thought he would. The question is no longer whether Diane is involved in Phyllis's kidnapping, but whether she is willing to do anything to protect her secrets, even if it means sacrificing those closest to her. Unease and the challenges ahead with each step, Billy gets closer to the truth, and closer to dangers he never thought possible. Will Diane continue to hide her secrets, or will Billy be the one to finally expose them all? With clues becoming clearer, Billy is on the verge of facing a huge secret that could change everything in the Abbott family. The big lesson of this story is caution. In a world filled with intrigue and complex relationships, sometimes it is more important than ever to look at and check the facts. Seemingly innocuous clues can lead to horrifying truths, and Billy Abbott will have to be prepared for any eventuality.